Good morning, 6:40 a.m. on this 20th day of January 2014. We're glad you're watching Morning Express. If you're just joining us, welcome to the show. Let's get into our press review this morning. We begin with Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. And today's headline, anger over Raila hand in ODM poll. So those polls coming up end of next month, and a lot of conversations around that, including those who are expressing interest in vying for the various positions, and those that have decided to clarify that they will not vie even after it had been thought they would contest for some of the party posts. But now group asks former PM not to influence Orange Party's elections amid claims denied by the party leader that some aspirants have his blessings. So the vocal ODM MPs have boldly told party leader Raila Odinga not to endorse candidates for next month's elections. The leaders told Raila to let aspirants interested in various positions campaign for the seats without influence. It's the story that continues on page 4 of the Standard today. Also on the front page, Atwoli calls for Kambi sacking over Tasia, and Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli stunned a Mombasa crowd yesterday when he accused Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi of trying to convince him to regularly approve tenders at the National Social Security Fund. So speaking at Thanksgiving ceremony for APZ workers in Changamwe, we have Atwoli claimed that the CS approached him soon after being appointed to the cabinet last year, but he stood firm. Read more about that on page 2 of the Standard today. And also, CORD election loss is a story you'll find on page 6, highlighted at the top of the front page, where Duale says former Prime Minister running out of excuses for 2013 defeat and dismisses claims military rigged the polls. One of the headline pictures there as well is Ruto at church fundraiser. He's there with Sister Canisia Subs during an annual offering for the needy at St. Barnabas Kimumu Catholic Church in Uasin Gishu County. Let's go to page 3 of the Standard this Monday, and it has the Pope adds 2 Africans to list of 19 new cardinals. So Africans on that list as well. Archbishops join Kenya's Njue and Tanzania's Pengo, bringing the number of cardinals in Africa to 17. And there's a list of the 19 new cardinals. You can read about them there from the different countries around the world, including Italy, Britain, Nicaragua, Spain, Argentina, and other countries. All the details covered there for you. Let's go to page 5, and post-poll victims still in trauma. That is what a new study is showing. Several years on after the post-election violence, with the cases ongoing at The Hague. Also very important not to forget is those that were affected in that violence, and lives of thousands of Kenyans who were affected will never be the same again. That's what new research is showing. Almost 6 years after the unprecedented post-election violence of 2007, a new medical study shows thousands of affected Kenyans are still suffering from debilitating mental health conditions. So the findings published on Saturday show more than a third of those who suffered violent attacks are still nursing serious mental health conditions, similar to what has become a nightmare for returning U.S. servicemen in Iraq and also from Afghanistan. So the size of sample, just to give you details of that, the study involved 919 households from 90 villages in 8 provinces and 47 counties, representing 22.1 million adults. The study was published on Saturday in the peer-reviewed journal Conflict and Health through Biomed Central. And you can get more details there. So the details of what Duale is dismissing, the claims by the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on page 6, and Ruto rails at Raila as well over the rigging claim. We read about it over the weekend, saying that the military assisted, what the former PM alleged was that the military assisted Jubilee in capturing that victory. But since those remarks have been trashed by Jubilee. Also on that page is Western leaders meet Deputy President. And to page 7, Lupita, the amazing golden girl, superwoman, adds another notch to her belt. She won the SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards last week, and Lupita Nyong'o once again denied American Hustle star Jennifer Lawrence a podium acceptance speech opportunity when she won the Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Supporting Role at the 20th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards on Saturday night at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles, looking fabulous. She is there. Also on that page is Jubilee MP threatens censure motion against Ngilu. Her was not completely done and out. Kieni MP Kanini Kega plans to introduce a censure motion in Parliament against Ngilu, and the MP affiliated to the Jubilee team says Mrs. Ngilu is acting against the Constitution on appointments in her ministry and threatens to move a motion to have her sacked. Page 8, CRA forewarns of national crisis if bills aren't passed. So that is Cheserim says if both the Senate and in fact the National Assembly disagree on draft laws, budget will be adversely affected. So the Commission on Revenue Allocation has warned that both the Senate and the National Assembly risk plunging the country into a constitutional crisis if they fail to agree on two crucial bills. That is the Division Revenue Bill and the County Allocation Revenue Bill are both the prerogative of both houses, which must be in place as soon as Parliament reopens to oversee the allocation and distribution of revenue to, of course, both the national and county governments. And one more story there is that Treasury has released 20 billion shillings to the counties. Yes, it has, but disbursement of funds is behind schedule since state was to give 17.5 billion shillings per month on average. That is a story you can read more about on page 9 of the Standard today. Let's get into the sports pages. Fever pitch, and the back page, the headline we have Orange Silver Cup win, and its champs Talcum stands Strathmore secures 6th African hockey title as well as the African Hockey Women's Champions. Orange Talcum collected their 6th trophy on the continental scene when they thumped Strathmore Ladies 2-0 to retain the title. Also in the pages of Fever Pitch, page 46, Russian Ivanovic sends Serena out of Australian Open, and Rugby 7 Steam Jets out to Las Vegas for the RB World Series circuit. That's page 47 of Fever Pitch today. It's just fun to go play in Las Vegas. Let's go into extra. Pull out inside the Standard today. It is headlined with "In the Lion's Den." That is the headline. Moran customs die out as cost of killing the big cats is raised to 20 million shillings. Page 2 to 4 of Extra has that for you. Also inside, reducing tobacco debts. How is that? Page 7 will explain. And headgear that cures baldness. To all the balding men, there's a headgear that could help if you have a problem with balding. Page 6 has the details. And also the most peculiar dates trips recall. Page 12 has that inside Extra. And of course, it's Monday blues after the weekend. Well, not very long, but you have Crazy Monday pullout as well inside the Standard to get you through today. And the headline story in Crazy Monday is sexual harassment or seduction. That's a question posed. Men using outdated ways of seduction, which today pass for violation. Yes, you want to be careful. Some of those things could be termed as sexual abuse. You could find yourself in a very sticky situation. Oyunga Pala on page 4, you are as charming as your bank balance. Yeah. And page 3, teacher gives border men impounded students shopping. Some of the stories inside the Crazy Monday today. So read more about that, what Oyunga Pala is talking about. You're as charming as your bank account. There are amazing pictures as well inside to get you laughing. And men who seduce like cavemen. And it has those pictures of just some of the most ridiculous things you'll find men doing, grabbing, what I'm saying? It's just wrong and unacceptable. So grab yourself a copy of the Standard. Inside, extra pullout and the Crazy Monday pullout as well. To the Daily Nation, the headline, workers to pay more to NSSF this month. So it begins this month, and Labour Secretary sets end of January as the date for new increased contributions to scandal-plagued pension fund. So workers countrywide will start paying increased rates to the National Social Security Fund from end of this month when the amended law governing the pension scheme comes into effect. The Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi picked January as the commencement date for the revised scheme, and details of that story are on page 3. And you have him there saying, we have appointed KRA to take charge of the contributions. Those are the words of Kazungu Kambi. Also on the front page, governors in crucial talks to boost counties, and governors will use a summit which opens in Naivasha today to measure the progress of devolution and learn from other countries with a similar form of government. Some of the county bosses arrived at the Great Rift Valley Lodge last evening for the 2-day summit hosted by the Nation Media Group, while others are expected to arrive today. And let's get into the pages of the Daily Nation. Page 2, graft team probes top NEMA officials, and you have the leaders in Mombasa, businessmen actually, that have accused NEMA officials of demanding bribes before issuing them with licenses. So environment team's bosses accused of demanding bribes to approve projects, and more details on that story on page 2. And Matters Education is what the Nation is covering on page 4 and 5. Page 4, institutions demand to be graded differently. Remember, that's what we're asking you today in our question of the day, as far as what the primary school head teachers are now proposing, that the public primary schools and private primary schools be graded differently to enhance equality. Do you think that will actually work? Share with us your thoughts. But the Kenya Primary School Heads Association, Joseph Karagwa, said candidates from public schools were learning under extremely difficult situations and could thus not be graded using the same system as learners taught under more friendly environments. So the suggestion there is to have them sit different examinations, and we'd like to hear your thoughts on the same. Why Top School lost its luster is on page 5, and Olympic Kibera used to be one of the best performing institutions before the 2003 changes. Remember that every other year you'd always hear Olympic would top the list of the various schools, but tucked in the heart of the sprawling Kibera slums in Nairobi is Olympic Primary School. The school was an academic giant for close to 15 years before the arrival of the free learning program in January 2003. And that report there will explain further about how it lost its position, top position, following the introduction of FPE. Governors in talks to boost county services. More details are on page 6. But what you find on page 8 is leaders back Uganda troops in Sudan City. So the East African Community Minister says Museveni's decision, supported by IGAD and UN agencies as well. So the East African countries have backed the deployment of Ugandan troops in South Sudan. The regional foreign ministers defended Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni to send his forces to the country, saying they were there to provide and to protect civilians, provide security as well. Let's go to the back page of the Daily Nation. MPs to quiz officials on real tender award, the story that refuses to go away as probes continue into what exactly transpired. Critics have raised concerns that the procurement procedure was not free and fair. So a parliamentary committee is today expected to interrogate senior government officials on the planned standard gauge railway, which has been dogged with controversy. The Star is headlined by Ruto's Karen house to cost 100 million shillings more. That's the headline in on the Star today. So cost of unoccupied official residence to reach 553 million shillings. So we'll look at those details in a short while on page 6. On the front page, the picture in the headline there is Kidero steals the show at Quad Kisumu rally. And Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero addresses a rally at the Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground in Kisumu on Saturday. Also on the front page, Kenya at 50 tools to explain 68 million shillings spent. So questions have arisen over the spending of some 68.4 million shillings by the Kenya at 50 organizing committee on last year's independence celebrations. Remember, the money that was to be spent, the budget was at 50 million, so this is upwards of 18.4 million. So sources in government said that some expenditure had not been officially approved and that the public could have lost millions of shillings to what has been described as, quote, ghost projects. And I remember quite a number of analysts saw this coming, especially with the lack of hype that we saw ahead of the 12th December last year celebrations. Really, there was not much that the country got to see in as far as setting the country in the mood for the Kenya at 50 celebrations is concerned. So it will be interesting to watch how that story will develop. Page 2, two held as police probe JKIA blast. We saw that happen last week. So police have zeroed in on a 4 men of Somali origin in connection with Thursday's blast at JKIA. The men have been living in a rented flat at Ushirika Estate in Eastleigh, Nairobi. Page 3 has a PS saying work on standard gauge railway has begun. So the work on the multi-billion shilling standard gauge railway has begun at some of the 11 sites earmarked for the project's initial Mombasa and Nairobi's phase. Transport PS Nduvamuli said on Friday. The PS said the 327 billion shillings railway project will be completed by the end of 2016. Also on that page, House Transport team set for railway tender probe. And we have an ex-KQ manager says Naikuni attacked him on page 4 of the Start today. So the former Kenya Airways Corporate Communications Manager, Kefa Bosire, has dismissed claims by Group CEO Titus Naikuni that he removed his T-shirt and Naikuni only helped him as he appeared to be struggling. So Bosire, who has sued KQ and Naikuni for undressing him in public last week, filed in court a reply to a statement by his former boss through his lawyers, Musyoki Mugaka and Company. Advocates, that is among several other stories that are inside the Star. But let's look at some more details of that. Deputy President's official residence and Ruto's current residence to cost 100 shillings more on page 6. Sources familiar with the project told the Star that another planned refurbishment or refurbishing may not be completed by the time the term of the current government ends in 2017. The formica that had been fitted in the main lounge has been peeling off due to poor workmanship. So this is one of the areas to be redone. And just interesting to read that story and the amount of money that is going to go into that, barely a year after we actually saw it completed. And new rules for night travel from April the 1st. Page 8. So the government has clarified that night travel by public service vehicles has not been banned, but operators will be required to meet certain conditions before they are allowed to operate. And of course, that was one of the things that was clarified a while back by Engineer Kamau. Finally, to the People, and on its front page today, workers to pay higher NSSF rates this month. We talked about that story earlier. Also, on the front page of the People, Duale answers Raila, and the MP tells Off-Code leader over claims that military helped Jubilee win presidential poll. On page 45 of the People is KEBS versus KRA, and Quality Body clashes with Taxman over 7-year rule on importation of used cars. Read more about that on page 45. Also inside, fear grips Narok as gangsters kill 10 in past 4 days. All of that and of course so much more inside the People newspaper. It is 6:59 a.m. on this 20th day of January. 10 more days, 11 days to go to the end of the month that is not too popular with many people, but hey, we're glad you're watching Morning Express. I want to take a short break now. Before we do, let's take you through what my 3 Roots has in terms of updates for what's happening on our roads this morning, beginning of a new week. And of course, we get to see lots of traffic most of the times.